Hi, I'm here to talk about why Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is really good. I think that Multiverse of Madness is an example of a sequel being a lot better than the first film. And I think that the first film is somewhat forgettable to me because when I think of Doctor Strange, I often think of the Spider Man stuff that he guest starred in, but also Multiverse of Madness. I think what really helps Multiverse of Madness a lot is that there are a lot more characters that I care about in it. Doctor Strange, now that he's gone through his character arc, he's more likable than he used to be. He was a good protagonist in the first film, but I do think he's a better protagonist in Multiverse of Madness. I really enjoy him. Scarlet Witch is really good in the film. It felt like some of the most interesting stuff that Wanda got to do aside from WandaVision, a lot of it is in Multiverse of Madness. I think it could be the second best role that she ever got in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's really hard to top WandaVision, but I do think that in terms of films, I think that Multiverse of Madness adapted Wanda the best. She is a very fascinating character, a very complicated character with a very complicated sense of morality. She's a stylish character, a cool character. So much good stuff is done with her, and she's able to have a really big role in the film. It's still Doctor Strange's film. He's still the protagonist, but in terms of having some of the most interesting stuff in terms of character development and standout moments, Scarlet Witch does get to shine in some really cool instances, and she is a very good character in the film. Juan feels like he's more involved in things in the second film than he did in the first film, which is good because he's a good character to have. There are a lot of fun surprise characters that show up. Um, and they get some really memorable stuff to do that I really enjoy. There's one in particular, one of my favorite Marvel characters, who's played by one of my favorite actors, shows up, and it's amazing. I love so much what's done with that character. And when that character gets to speak to Doctor Strange, it could be my favorite moment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Multiverse of Madness isn't my favorite film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think that a certain character getting to say a certain thing to Doctor Strange, it could be my favorite moment in the entire MCU. It's so good. And it is really hard to talk about without spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, this is a good time to stop the review. Patrick Stewart shows up as Professor X. I love Patrick Stewart so much, and I love Professor X so much. So Patrick Stewart showing up as Professor X again was amazing because I thought that he was done as playing a character. I thought that he would never play Professor X again. So him coming back was such a wonderful surprise for me. And seeing the other characters like Mr. Fantastic and um, Black Bolt and stuff, not really trust Doctor Strange too much, but Professor X being willing to give Doctor Strange a chance, seeing that hope, was beautiful. I love that so much. I think the Steve Rogers Captain America is meant to be the big symbol of hope, sort of Superman character for Marvel, but for me, I think it's Professor X. So seeing the symbol of hope get to finally show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's a beautiful thing. I love it so much. So when I do think about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I often do think about Professor X showing up. I love seeing Patrick Stewart as Professor X again so much that I was in a big Patrick Stewart mood. So I felt like, well, Patrick Stewart's been in a lot of Star Trek stuff, so I should give some of that stuff more of a chance, and that led to me becoming a Star Trek fan. So oddly enough, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness led to me becoming a Star Trek fan, and I think that is really funny because Patrick Stewart is not in Multiverse of Madness very much. It feels like a weird blend between a cameo appearance, a supporting role, where it feels like he's in it a little bit more than what you expect from a cameo, but less than what you expect from a supporting role. But I loved seeing him again so much. John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, I think, was a cool idea. I was hoping he would be the Mr. Fantastic moving forward. So I do think that's a bit of a waste of potential. It's at least cool to see him for a little bit. Black Bolt in his costume is cool to see. I don't know um, much about the team that Black Bolt is from. And I'm struggling to even remember it off the top of my head, but I think I've always felt that Black Bolt has a cool design, so it's at least cool to see that. So my favorite thing about the film is seeing an actor I love play a character that I love again, and that doesn't take up too much time in the film, but it's still so great to see. So Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness is a film I really enjoy. I like Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch's stuff in the film a lot, and Patrick Stewart as Professor X again is so wonderful. Love him so much.